Welcome! We're jumping right into the incredibly tense situation in Venezuela today. Why? Because a Nobel Peace Prize has sparked this huge debate. Could an award meant for peace actually end up being a justification for war? Let's get into it.
So this is what kicked the whole thing off for us. This comment from a Reddit user in a Change My View debate. The argument is basically this. Giving the Nobel Peace Prize to opposition leader Maria Corina Machado wasn't just an award, it was a political move with some really dangerous potential consequences. And that really is the million-dollar question here, isn't it? It feels like a total paradox. An award that's all about celebrating peace could somehow lead to military action. We're going to break down exactly how we got to this point, by looking at the people, the politics, and the really painful reality on the ground. Okay, so first things first. Let's talk about the award itself. The second the Nobel Committee announced Maria Corina Machado as the winner, two completely different stories about what this means for Venezuela's future just exploded onto the scene. And this really captures the whole debate in a nutshell. You've got two main camps. On one side, people are saying this prize gives a huge stamp of international legitimacy to Machado, who, has a history of supporting foreign intervention. The fear is that this gives political cover for a potential U.S. military move. But then, the other camp says, hold on, this prize is totally irrelevant. They argue the U.S. was already on a collision course with Venezuela anyway. For them, the award isn't the cause of the problem, it's just another symptom of the crisis.
To really get what's going on here, you have to understand the key figures who've been shaping Venezuela for the last 25 years. Their legacies are right at the very heart of this whole conflict. First up, you have the current president, Nicolás Maduro, who is widely accused of everything from authoritarian rule to causing this massive economic collapse. Then, right in the middle, you've got Maria Corina Machado, the Nobel laureate. Her supporters see her as a hero for democracy, but her critics see her as a hawk who wants U.S. involvement. And then there's the man whose shadow looms over everything, Hugo Chavez.
This comment really gets to the core of the whole Chavez debate. To a lot of people, he was this charismatic leader who used a massive oil boom to pay for all these popular social programs. But to others, he's the one who built the fragile house of cards that eventually collapsed. They argue his policies only became obviously unsustainable after he died, leaving Maduro to deal with the fallout. That split right there, it's key to understanding the deep divisions in the country.
But look, beyond all the political drama and international debates, you have the daily reality for millions of Venezuelans. And to really understand what's at stake, we need to see what life is actually like inside the country right now.
And to get that picture, we're going to lean on a pretty stark report from the Geneva Center for Human Rights. They've been documenting the severe crisis that's unfolding.
Just let this number sink in for a second. According to that report, the official monthly salary in Venezuela is 130 bolivars. That's less than $1 for an entire month of work. It's a level of economic freefall that critics lay directly at the feet of Maduro's government and years of mismanagement. And this just paints a devastating picture of the healthcare system, a system that's been absolutely crippled. A shocking 91% of hospitals that were surveyed had to ask patients to bring their own surgical supplies. Just imagine that. You need an operation, and they tell you, okay, great, now go find your own gauze, gloves, and scalpels. It's unbelievable.
The thing is, this crisis isn't just economic. It's enforced by a political one. The report lays out this pattern of state repression under Maduro. Arbitrary arrests, using terrorism laws to shut down any criticism, and even reports of enforced disappearances and torture. And with a justice system that has no real independence, there's basically nowhere for victims to turn.
A huge part of this repression involves these groups called colectivos, and as Human Rights Watch defines them, they are, essentially, pro-government armed gangs. They operate with total impunity, reportedly with the state's blessing, to attack protesters, intimidate journalists, and just generally use violence to crush any and all opposition.
So, with a situation this dire, we're right back at that explosive question at the heart of the whole debate. What is the world supposed to do? And this is where we get into the intervention dilemma.
This user just nails the frustration that fuels the whole argument for intervention. Think about it. When a government crushes its own people, steals elections, and people are literally starving, is just standing by and watching a moral option? For some people, outside help is the only hope they have left.
But that hope is immediately slammed with this deep, bitter cynicism. And this sarcastic reply just captures it perfectly. You know, the long, painful history of U.S. interventions, especially in Latin America, has left so many people deeply skeptical of America's real motives, and frankly, its ability to actually build stable democracies.
And the historical record is just messy, which is why this is so polarizing. On one hand, supporters of intervention will point to big successes, right? Post-World War II Germany and Japan, South Korea. But critics will immediately fire back with a whole list of recent catastrophic failures. Iraq, Libya, Afghanistan, where intervention didn't lead to democracy, it led to absolute chaos and incredible suffering.
And here's the crucial point. For a lot of critics, this conversation isn't really about democracy at all. They argue that the real motivation for any U.S. action would be purely economic. Specifically, getting control over Venezuela's oil reserves, which just happen to be among the largest on the entire planet.
So all of this leaves us in a place with absolutely no easy answers. The situation right now is a humanitarian catastrophe. But the main proposed solution, intervention, is just loaded with historical baggage and unbelievable risk.
One person in the discussion summed it up as a pick-your-poison scenario, and that feels pretty accurate. Option 1, the Venezuelan military has a coup. Well, you could just end up with another dictator from the exact same cloth. Option 2, foreign intervention. You might get a US-backed strongman instead. And Option 3, do nothing. Then the societal collapse just keeps getting worse. None of these paths are a guaranteed route to peace or democracy.
And that is the impossible question hanging over Venezuela. A peace prize has shined a light on a desperate cry for change, but it's also exposed this terrifying reality that every single potential path forward is just loaded with peril. The world is watching, but a clear solution, sadly, seems completely out of reach.